Good afternoon, all. I am here to speak about the essentials of a contract. Basically, Contract Act, the Indian Contract Act, also known as the Contract Act 1872, is important in under our Indian laws because the most important aspect of any business transactions is the formation of a contract. A contract starts off first with a proposal. So, under Section 2A of the Indian Contract Act or Contract Act 1872, when one person signifies to another his willingness to do or to abstain from doing anything with a view to obtain the assent of that person for such act or abstinence, he is said to make a proposal. Section 2b, when the person to whom the proposal is made signifies his assent thereto, a proposal is said to be accepted. A proposal, when accepted, becomes a promise. Section 2c, the person making the proposal is the proposer, or the person accepting the proposal is the proposee. It can be a proposal or a proposer or a proposee, an offerer or offeree, or a promiser and a promisee. D. When at the insist when at the insistence of one party, the person gives when at the insistence of the proposer, the people there is an for okay, when at the desire of the proposer, the promiser performs or the proposee performs or abstains to perform such an act, the value of consideration for such act or abstinence, the value of monetary value for such an act or abstinence, he is said to be a consideration. Section 2e, the right, the promises and a set of promises forming the consideration for each other is called as a agreement. Agreement means promises and a set of promises forming the consideration for each other is called an agreement. Section 2 Section 2F, promises forming a part or promises and counter promises forming a part of a transaction are called reciprocal promises. Section 2F, an agreement not enforceable by law is void. And the classical definition of a contract, Section 2H, states an agreement enforceable by law becomes a contract. These are the particular definitions under the Indian Contract Act or the Contract Act 1872. Now that we know what a contract is, a contract can be for selling involving instruments like buying and selling, a sale deed, formation of a company, the agreement where two parties agree to sell of goods, furniture, movable goods, movable, immovable like properties, land, which is sold at a consideration from party A to party B. So, the basic concepts for a sale, a lease or a partition deed or company law is very much linked to a kind of a contract between two or more parties. Like in the case of a partnership firm, all the partners, if there are four partners, they have they have to they have pooled in all their resources to make the partnership firm work. Now, in this case, if the partnership firm succeeds, they will share the spoils of the profits. However, if there is a loss in the firm, they will be jointly and severally liable. They are jointly and severally liable for the loss of everyone, of all the partners. Whereas in a company, in case there are people, the shareholders who have invested in the company, if there is a profit, it will add to their shares that they have put in the company. However, if a company faces a loss, the boon in the form of limited liability saves the investors from further loss of money, as they will only lose those particular shares which they have invested and nothing more. Therefore, a company can become bankrupt, but the shareholder is not bankrupt due to the policy of limited liability. Now, coming to a contract, as I said, under Section 2H of the Indian Contract Act 1872, states that an agreement enforceable by law is a contract. Basically, now who are the parties to the contract? The parties to the contract are two: the promisor and the promisee. The promisor is the person who promises to deliver the goods, and the party who is at the receiving end or acceptance of such goods is called as the promisee. So, a promiser will job is to provide goods or services to the promisee for a monetary value. That monetary value is the consideration for the promise. If A wants to sell furnitures to B, wants to sell a dozen furnitures having table and chairs to B for about 14 for 1500 rupees. 1500 rupees becomes the consideration amount which B has to pay to A in return of the services and goods. Similarly, if you go to a restaurant, the food, if you go to a supermarket, you get the goods and the fruits or vegetables for a consideration, a rate. However, if we are going to a restaurant where we eat food, North Indian, South Indian, or Chinese, we pay for the food, but more than the food, we also pay for the services, and it's the brand name that is very much important. Now, if you refer to contracts, contracts is essential for every business dealing, but you cannot have a contract unless there are more parties in the picture. A person can contract from promoting a particular product, which comes with promotion, promoting a product which is done either by an advertising firm or by a company, to advertising for a particular soap, a particular detergent, a particular brand, to making a person, to endorsing a particular candidate for the prime minister of the nation. It is done with the help of mass communication, mass media, technology, promotions, advertisements, and endorsements. All these aspects are, as for a lawyer, the contract, signing of a contract is as important as promotion of the product, sponsoring sponsors, having better marketing techniques, better influential managers who will endorse the products, and finally comes when it comes to the last person, it is the buyer. All these put together will make a contract or a sale valid, viable, and variant. It can be variant because it not only has one particular use, it can have various uses. Also, for a person who is interested in contracts and is also interested in promoting a particular product, one should know that the leading part of a business or a business cycle are the three P principle. It whatever relation a promiser has with the promisee, it should cover the three P principle, which is it should be productive, positive, and profitable. Only if any venture is productive, positive, and profitable can it lead to better returns. However, any venture which is not productive, not profitable, or not positive, or which can cause losses where a company can lose millions, such ventures should not be invested in. We should very often, for any particular product, in case of someone wants to expand the business, another way of expanding the business is endorsing various products. For the endorsements, the celebrity, the film star, or the businessman will charge a consideration which will promote the product and also promote him. Similarly, by organizing social get-togethers and parties, they are also one form of an investment through which businessmen can, in front of the media, can get to address and share their experiences and can endorse more products. More than that, a contract is an agreement between two and or more persons competent to contract. Thereby, the person should be competent, should be mentally and physically sound, should not be a minor or a person of unsound mind. So, a contract is an agreement between two or more persons. Point number one, A. B. Competent to contract. C. Declared competent by a competent court of law. D. Should not be void on account of point one, coercion, undue influence, mistake, misrepresentation, or fraud, also called fraudulent misrepresentation. In the case of coercion, in suppose a person is on gunpoint, is made to sign a contract. It might be an agreement, but it has been forced from the individual. Therefore, under a contract, it is not a binding contract. It is not a contract at all. Undue influence, section 16 of the Indian Contract Act deals with a fiduciary relationship which is present in between two people, which is based entirely on trust and confidence. A relationship between two parties who have based on trust and confidence can be parent and child, lawyer and client, doctor and patient, uh, boss or employee, or a or a um, or siblings, no, or a businessman and a client, where one is capable to manipulate the emotions or influence the other person into thinking in the way they want. Therefore, undue influence comes only when there is fiduciary relationship between two trusted people based on trust and confidence between two people where one person is able to dominate the will of another. So, in case of undue influence, if a person says, so in the case of undue influence, if a person tells him, if a doctor tells his client that he has an ailment and probably he may not survive, the client dies in shock. Since it is a matter which was communicated in good faith, the doctor is not liable for what happens to the patient. Similarly, between a parent and child, if a child says that I will not come home, I will go away and never return provided you get me a car, that is also not a contract because the child is influencing the father. So, in these cases where one individual is influencing the other person due to undue influence, it is illegal. It is not a contract. Also, for a lawful object, if A gives a contract to B to kill C, since it is an agreement but it has no legal status and it is morally and it is for an illegal objective of murdering another person. Therefore, people who in Maharashtra or in North India refer to supari killings. It is only an agreement. It is not a contract because it is for an unlawful object. Anything for an unlawful object or any item done, any transaction is not a contract. It is merely an agreement with an unlawful object. Then, mistake. In case there has been a concept of mistake, suppose A who is a dealer who deals with purchase and selling of televisions, have to deliver the television to a person called B Prabhakar. But instead, when he types the bill, the cashier puts the name of not B Prabhakar but C Prabhakar. It goes to the wrong person. That is a transaction where there was a mistake of fact by not knowing the correct surname. Then, fourth point is misrepresentation. Suppose if A misrepresents impersonates himself as B. A doctor impersonates as a lawyer to get to know the file of someone. Misrepresentation, no, not that. Misrepresentation, I think, yours, Anta? Appa, your phone. If someone misrepresents, suppose a person wants to sell his car, which is called as the Premier Padmini, and doesn't B didn't understand it in the right sense. Consensus addendum was not there. He thought that that is the movie of a famous dancer called Padmini, and so this is a mistake of fact, so it could be excused. However, if a person if a person who wants to sell Padmini sees the profile of the buyer that he is referring to the DVDs of a dancer and actress called Padmini, and knowing that he is still wanting to sell his premier Padmini, it is fraudulently misrepresenting this product. Therefore, a contract is an agreement between two parties with a lawful object for a lawful purpose. Not it should between two people competent to contract. It should not be for a minor like Mori Bibi versus Dharamdas Ghosh or for a person with unsound mind, and it should not be obtained by coercion, undue influence, mistake, misrepresentation, or fraud. And one more thing, he should not be disqualified by any other law of the land or in any other law, or should not have any case against him, so that that is the only way his contract and the business deal can be valid, viable, and can be applicable to the age. Thank you.